It's your man 100 Grand Ross with The Rock Never Stops. Unlocking Jaden Ivey. This is a interesting topic for me because I think I've been talking about him a lot lately because the more and more I look at this team, I see him as this kind of catalyst individual who brings it all together. Jaden Ivey has the ability to do things that no one else on this team does. 40% three-point shooter, uh, probably the fastest player with the ball in his hands on this team next to Asar Thompson. Probably has the most explosiveness at the rim and has the ability to be an incredible defender and two-way player. I'm not saying we don't have other talented players. I'm saying how he puts it all together is one of a kind. It's something that most teams, the majority of teams, do not have. And so I want to dive in to this topic today in this video about how do we unlock Jaden Ivey, because I think that that's a question that is on a lot of people's minds. Hang on one second. I got a garbage truck out here. Gets loud as hell sometimes out here. But let me just start with, I don't think it's going to be as hard or as difficult as we may think. I think when we look at people coming together, players coming together, and we look at big time talents having to merge their skills and their abilities with other players, it's easy to begin to think about, man, whose shots are they going to take away from? How are we going to share the ball with this guy? How are they going to be able to integrate themselves? And I think the reality is Jaden Ivey has the ability to be probably one of the easiest, simplest fits on this team. If anything, I think the most complex fit is Asar Thompson because he is just such an enigma. You don't see that type of talent that plays the way that he does very often in the NBA. Outside of guys like maybe Sean Marion that I could think of. I mean, you have his brother, Amen Thompson, maybe Iguodala, but I can't recall someone that athletic with that diverse of a skill set. And so I think that he's going to be a far harder fit to piece together. How can we make this work? But this is where Jaden Ivey comes in. Is being easy, being easy, being someone who can fit in amongst other talented players because he has two of probably the most essential offensive skill sets: shooting and finishing. Now, I know he still needs to improve how he finishes with touch, with his offhand, maybe a little bit more floater game, but his explosiveness at the rim gives him distinct advantages. And when you couple that with his high level 3-point shooting with range, he becomes one of those guys that you kind of have to pick your poison. And because you have two extremely distinct advantages on the offensive end, it makes it easy to just kind of slot you in. And this is what I want to dive in on. How do they slot him in? The number one thing that comes to mind is moving him off ball. I know I've talked about moving Cade Cunningham off ball a lot, and that is essential. When you have a very talented team, when you have depth on your team, you have to be able to score on and off the ball. When you look at the Oklahoma City Thunder, when you look at the Indiana Pacers, one thing that is consistent is that those guys score in a myriad of ways. They are impactful and effective in a myriad of ways, not just one. Not just one. And so when you look at how do you potentially maximize this roster, I think one of the first steps is to get buy-in on Jaden Ivey's role, which is going to be and should be off ball. Not just because he's so effective off ball, but also because he's probably least effective on ball. Of the players on this team, he probably tends to struggle the most with the decision making, reading the defense, making the appropriate decision. Yo, what's good, man? What's good? Oh, we got Sandro in the house. Salute, brother. It's good to see you. Good to see you. Yes, I'm definitely ready for Game 7. Definitely ready for Game 7. It's going to be an incredible game because I don't think at this point either team is. Uh, oh, my mic glitched out. Can you hear me now? We're good. Shoot me a thumbs up in the chat if I'm coming through all right. I also got headphones here if I need to fall back. All this to say is game 7 is going to be lit. And I think that watching the Oklahoma City Thunder against the Indiana Pacers, it only opens up that much more for what it looks like to put all these pieces together for the Detroit Pistons. That we are seeing fully, completely, how important it is going to be. That this is not a team that's heliocentric, meaning focused on one guy and everyone playing around him. That no longer works in today's NBA. The team where one guy goes out and gets you 35, 40 points, and then everyone else just falls in line. Allen Iverson kind of popularized that. And then you had, James Harden came along and, oh, glitches sometimes. Okay, appreciate it, appreciate it. But the heliocentric offense no longer works. It no longer works. And so when we think about what it means to construct a winning team, we have to start thinking about how can we disperse the roles and responsibilities in a way that maximizes the talent that this team holds. Right now, we have a core. Cade Cunningham. He's our superstar. All NBA. Likely going to be perennial. Right? Barring injury, knock on wood, he is a perennial All NBA, All Star player. We have Jaden Ivey, Asar Thompson, Jalen Duren. Then we have Ron Holland, Isaiah Stewart. I believe Marcus Sasser is a part of this group also, but he still has to prove that next season. And Bobby Klintman. I think he could be a player for us as well. But this is our young core. This is our core. And then we have the supporting cast. Right now, it's Tobias Harris. That's our main veteran. And I don't think that we want to understate how valuable he is for this team. And then you have other guys like Simone Fontecchio and, the guys that are now free agents, Tim Hardaway Jr., Malik Beasley. But it's to say that those guys surround the core. Those guys surround the core. But you still need each piece to be maximally effective in a way where each piece works with one another. And I think the biggest piece for next season is going to be getting Jaden Ivey off ball. We need Jaden Ivey to become the type of player that you can allow him to get his points easily. Because Cade Cunningham, he's not the easiest of scorers. Yeah, he can score with ease, but he takes a lot of dribbles. He attracts a lot of attention. He has to make a lot of reads. Asar Thompson, he's making a lot of the reads, figuring out how to get downhill, figuring out how to play amongst the trees and playing in the post, finishing at the top, pick and roll. He's doing a lot of other things that take a little bit more effort, collectively and individually. But Jaden Ivey, I think, is someone who's going to be able to be extremely effective with minimal effort from the team in the offense. I think Jaden Ivey, and I have to correct myself on this because I did say it would be a shame to use him as we did Tim Hardaway Jr. And yet, I think playing him in that Tim Hardaway Jr. role would be a great step towards maximizing his efficiency. What's good? I wonder who is the one guy that you would love for the Pistons to add this offseason? And what is the one guy that you'd be annoyed if the Pistons had? 3-and-D veteran would be cool, I think. That's a good question. That's a good question. I don't know if I have that one guy that I would love for them to add. I'll think about it throughout the course of this video. It'll definitely come to me. But somebody that I would be annoyed if they added would be someone who takes away from the young guys, right? Like a guy who comes in and needs to be the focal point. I'm like, why? For what? Why are we stepping back? Why are we slowing down the train that's already rolling and trying to roll in a new direction? That would make no sense, and that would frustrate me. But I would let it play out. I would let it play out. I've been wrong before. But let me just say, I think one of the videos I was watching just now was on Ray Allen. Ray Allen. His strengths were his shooting and his ability to get to the rim coming into the league out of UConn, University of Connecticut. And the way he played in Milwaukee, was essentially how I think the NBA loves to play today. High volume of threes, high volume getting to the rim. And he had an in between game. Now, back then, they took more mid range jump shots, and I thought that that was cool too. And I think that that's an area where Jaden Ivey has to develop. But what would it look like to have an athletic shooting guard, an elite athlete shooting guard? I think Ivey's more athletic than Ray Allen was, even coming in out of UConn. But what would it look like to have an athletic shooting guard come off of screens, full speed, catch the ball, and immediately be thinking catch and shoot, catch pump fake, drive straight into the rim, catch pump fake, take a step in, mid range jump shot or floater. That type of a play style is very simple, but it's extremely effective. It is extremely effective. Get Tom Thibodeau as the coach, and the young guy really gonna get. Nah. Yo, what's good, Shane? What's good, Shane? I wouldn't bring Tom Thibodeau anywhere near this team except as an assistant to head up the defense. That's it. All that's to say is, I think Jaden Ivey has the type of game style that should be really easy to plug in between Cade, Asar, and Durant. But it starts with moving him off the ball, coming to the ball, catching and shooting. How they utilize Tim Hardaway Jr., you can imagine if that's Jaden Ivey, that just becomes, I mean, Tim Hardaway Jr. on crack. That's one of the most insane type of matchups that I think the league would have to deal with. No one shoots the ball like that and has that type of athleticism. Seeing the injury of Jaden Ivey got me feeling so sad, though. Man, broke my heart. Yeah, yeah, facts, facts. I think for a lot of us, because the way he was ascending and improving, and as hard as he was playing, you could do nothing but root for the guy. But I think sometimes I'm gonna be honest with you, man. I think injuries early on in players' career really helps for their longevity over the course of their career. And I've said this before that sometimes taking that break, pausing, get a full season where you can sit and you can watch the game, cheer your teammates, start thinking and processing the game and sitting down with the coaches in the film room and thinking about your own game and how to make it more effective and efficient. Slowing down and resting. Sometimes we don't realize how much basketball these young guys are playing throughout high school, all year long, straight into college, all year long. Then they go into the draft. Then they go into summer league. Then they go into the rookie year, but then you gotta make sure that you follow up a good rookie year with a good sophomore year. And so you're going right into training, summer league, and then right into training camp and preseason, and you're going nonstop for years. Some of these guys, 6, 7, 8 years, nonstop, all year long, basketball. And they tend to get a lot of overuse injuries. Sometimes they get a little burnt out. Sometimes it's hard for them to sustain the level of concentration and fire that they once had. And sometimes when you have to sit out, it allows you to rejuvenate yourself, your spirit, your mind, right? Connecting with your family, slow down, remember the things that are most important to you, right? Get some balance in your life. And then you come back refreshed. You come back ready to go. You come back rejuvenated. And I think Jaden Ivey is going to come back rejuvenated. I think he's going to come back as a player who is not only excited to play basketball, looking forward to playing with his teammates, but I think he's going to be more content. Like I think a lot of early Jaden Ivey was trying to prove something. And he was trying to prove that he was this great player. Yo, was good, Jones. Was good, was good. I appreciate you too, man. I appreciate you being here. Appreciate you being here. You know, when I think of Jaden Ivey's game and how he comes back, I think he's going to have a level of contentment that allows him. Oh, what's good, Ray? Salute, brother. He's going to have the type of contentment that allows him to settle into his role and look really good. And look really good. I mean, not just like he did this season, but I mean even better. I'm talking about a guy who's going to play 35 minutes a game, 34 to 36 minutes a game. And he's going to be content. with being the off ball guy, knocking down threes, attacking straight line drives, getting out in transition, cutting off the ball, and being a lockdown defender. Point of attack, being able to switch, contest, close out. And is that type of guy who can come in and say, I just want to be back with the guys. That I think is going to be the heart of this team. Because I think Cade is more than willing to defer. Asar is more than willing to defer. Jalen Duren is more than willing to defer. But for Jaden Ivey to come in and be ready to do that task of being a floor spacer, knocking down open threes, attacking closeouts, and with that athleticism, I keep telling y'all, it is a pick your poison. Because if you close out too hard, he's one dribble, one pump fake and dribble, and he's already dunking on you. He's finishing at the rim, giving you a little floater. He's that guy that when you position him in an offense, as long as he's clicking, this offense is going to click. As long as he's coming off of those screens, and the defense has to keep an eye out in their periphery, looking out for which direction Jaden Ivey is coming from, it's going to open up the entire floor. It's going to open up the pick and roll between Cade and Duren. It's going to open up Asar Thompson facilitating at the top of the key. It's going to allow Cade to get the ball at the free throw line, turn and face, and not have that collapsing defense. It's going to allow Jalen Duren to post up because they're always going to be worried about the shooter. They are always going to be worried about the shooter. Then when you translate the defensive end, and this is, I've said it before, this is where everything falls into place. Jaden Ivey, the shooter, and then the defensive end. If Jaden Ivey can become our point of attack defender, the individual who is able to spearhead our defense. Look, Asar Thompson is going to be the fulcrum of the defense. He's going to be the fulcrum. He is going to be the guy that is going to make some incredible plays, but is also able to fill in and help on the weak side in so many ways that he's going to reinforce every single player as a defensive player. Because you got to worry about that guy behind him. Not necessarily the guy in front of you, but the guy behind you. The guy who can erase your shot at the rim. The guy who can jump that passing lane and get a deflection or a steal. The guy who you don't see should be able to make it where he can make it to and make a play on the ball. That's the guy. And so if we can have Jaden Ivey as the point of attack, it changes the game. Because now we're scoring easily through transition and turnovers and rebounds. And Jaden Ivey can use his athleticism there as well. You know, one of the things that I think many times we don't always recognize how effective it is transition offense. How important it is to generate turnovers, to generate steals. Because the reality is, good teams are going to play defense. Good teams are going to play defense. If Philly gets healthy, Joel Embiid gets right, that's going to be a damn good defense. Toronto healthy, that's going to be a damn good defense. Boston, is going to be a good defense. Atlanta is going to be a good defense, right? Dyson Daniels, Zachary Reese-Shade, Jalen Johnson, right? Onyeka Okongwu, whoever they get in the draft, it's going to be a good defense. Miami is going to be a good defense. Each of these teams are going to play a high-level defense. The Orlando Magic, Cleveland Cavaliers, I can go on and on. New York Knicks. Well, Knicks, we'll see. All right, Jalen Brunson gets taken advantage of. All it's to say is, when you have a good defense going up against another good defense, you can fall into somewhat of a stalemate. And if you are trying to bank your ability to put points on the board through your ability to shot create and score in the half court, you're never going to get there. You're never going to get there. Each of these teams in the finals have been great in transition, great in creating turnovers, great in stymieing the other team's offense, getting missed shots off the glass and getting out and running. And I keep telling y'all, there's not a single team in the NBA that has the level of athleticism that the Detroit Pistons have. Not one. Not one. Jaden Ivey, by far, along with Asar Thompson, is in that 1% of athletes in the NBA. I mean, you got Amen Thompson, you got John Morant, you got maybe Anthony Edwards. But he's more of an explosive athlete than I would say a fast athlete. I can't really think of too many other players that are an absolute blur getting up and down the court. The Pistons have two of them. They have two. Let me get to some of these comments real quick. Let me see. Let me see. Sanjo. It's a double-edged sword. It could work or it could not. It's about the mentality most of the time. I think Jaden got that in him, so I think he will come back stronger than he ever was. Praying for him. I think he will too. I think he will too. One of the things that I love about Jaden Ivey is he has a good support system around him. He's got his wife, he's got his family, he's got his children, got his mother, right? He's got family around him. He's got people to keep his head on the level. But I think something else that he also has is the internal workings of someone who wants to do the right thing. He wants to do the right thing by his teammates. I mean, he wants to win. He wants to be great. You see that drive, and I love that. But he wants to do right by his team. And that selflessness, that contentment, that humbleness, I think is how he's going to become great. I think that's how he's going to become great. And it's not going to look like trying to look like somebody else. Right? I did a video before that Jaden Ivey can make a Jalen Williams J-Dub level leap. The J-Dub that's playing for OKC, their second best player. He can have that type of a leap, but it's not going to be in playing like J-Dub. J-Dub was playing point guard, high school, college at Santa Clara, and then they put the ball in his hands early on at Oklahoma City. And now in his third year, he's taking that jump. Jaden Ivey is going to take a jump, but it's going to be because he's playing off the ball. He's utilizing his speed, not just in transition and on defense, but also coming off of screens, backdoor cuts, moving without the ball, knocking down shots, and then attacking straight line drives. This might seem simple. I know it seems simple. It seems really simple. But when you think about Ray Allen and how effective he was, that a very simple play style boosted by elite skill and athleticism, he was an absolute problem. An absolute problem for the league. Look, Ivey's got handle. He's got wiggle. He's got finishing ability. He can get over the rim. I've seen the floater game, the offhand. He's fearless. He can hit a pull-up mid-range shot. He needs to get a little bit more balanced. But he can knock down threes as well at a high clip efficiently. We've seen all that. We don't need him to become something else to become great. I think all of these tools that he has come together in a simple package. In a very simple package. Yes, Jaden Ivey is going to be able to run some pick and roll and stuff like that, but he doesn't need to become a floor general. It's something that I always said with the Oklahoma City Thunder. I thought one of the things that really impacted the Oklahoma City Thunder and the reason why they never got back to the NBA Finals. I mean, they would have, I think, if Kevin Durant and Russell Westbrook hadn't had those season-ending injuries, right? Russell Westbrook got hit by Patrick Beverley in the playoffs, or right before the playoffs, hit his knee, was out for the series in the next season. Then Kevin Durant broke, I think, a small bone in his foot and was out for a whole season. And that derailed kind of that dynasty that they were building. But I thought one of the major factors was that they didn't bring back Derek Fisher, the floor general, the leader, the guy who made sure everyone got the ball where they needed to, had the level head, but he's also been there before. He's been at the mountaintop with the Lakers multiple times. And I thought that putting Russell Westbrook in that floor general role took him out of who he was. He was never a floor general. He was playing on the wing in high school and in college. To bring him into the NBA and say, now we want you to read the game as a floor general for the first time at the highest level, the most athletic, the most talented. Now we want you to do, and he was never able to do so. At least not in the playoffs, not when it mattered the most. I think keeping Jaden Ivey off the ball, who reads the game, I believe, at a similar pace. I'm speaking about Russell Westbrook here. Jaden Ivey does not have a high processing ability when it comes to complex defensive schemes and having to read, making the right decision on a consistent basis. I think that's been evident. And it's okay to recognize limitations, right? If you recognize limitations, you can lean into strengths and you can have other players step into those roles. And I think that Jaden Ivey stepping back from that role and allowing guys like Asar Thompson and Cade Cunningham to run the show will allow him to become that much more effective of a scorer while also unlocking the other players. Because now it's one less in my mind worried about, wait, who's bringing it up now? Or is it me? Okay, now how am I going to play off of him in this regard? Let someone else do it. Let someone else do it. Fall into your strengths. Get cemented in how you can maximize this offense. And then be effective on the fringes in these other areas. Let me get to some of these comments though. Let me see. What's good, Ray? What's good, Brian? Kevin Williams was good. Ivy has a great work ethic and will show improvement this season. This is our most athletic team ever, 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 ever. I haven't seen a team this athletic since the old school Los Angeles Clippers with Andre Miller, who was leading that team. And he had Darius Miles, Quentin Richardson, Corey Maggette, Lamar Odom. And I think Michael Olowokandi was on that team. That was probably the most athletic team I've ever seen, just across the board, just collectively. That team was scary, scary. If only Donald Sterling wasn't the owner, maybe that team would have become something. I don't think I've ever seen a team that athletic. This is one of those teams, especially when you count guys like Ron Holland and you look at Cade out in the open court, especially when he's playing with pace and speed, and then Asar, and then Ivy, Duran, which is why also I'm gonna do a draft video pretty soon. But I think in the draft, it would behoove the Pistons to reinforce this advantage that they have. All right, and there's some guys I've talked about before. I'm going to get into that later. Let me get some of these other comments here. Here we go. Here we go. Yeah, Sandra, OKC and Rockets, maybe. But at the minimum, it's top 5. And we're being underestimated. Pistons, that is. Yeah. Well, I'll say this. You're right. Houston is very athletic also. Amen Thompson, Jalen Green. Phenomenal athletes. Phenomenal athletes. Tari Eason as well. Add him to the group. But then I would say they also have, what's his name? From Villanova. The guy I always get on his top about. Either way, they have a very athletic team as well. But I don't think that their pieces fit as well as Detroit's. Like Detroit's, I can clearly see how these pieces fit. Move Jaden Ivey off ball. Cade Cunningham, as much as possible, have him off ball. Let him be a primary scorer. Let Jaden Ivey be the secondary scorer. I would, if anything, and I might do a video on this pretty soon, the Boston Celtics, when they have Paul Pierce and Ray Allen and Rajon Rondo, present a very good framework for what it could look like. If you were to play Cade like you would play Paul Pierce, and you play Jaden Ivey how you would play Ray Allen, you play Asar Thompson how you would play Rajon Rondo. and then you have Duran playing that KG role. I'm gonna give you what you need. Now, I do think that offensively, I want to see more from Duran. I want to see more from. I want to see a big man that can take over for stretches of a game. And I think that's going to happen. But it's to say when you think about how these things fit, sharing the ball, distributing roles, making sure that there's balance, keeping the defense off balance by having to pay attention to so many guys. I think that is a good framework. It's a good starting point for this team. All that's to say is I think this team fits. I think Jaden Ivey playing off ball, Cade Cunningham off ball, catching at the mid post. Right, Jalen Duren setting on ball screens or playmaking from the top of the key, and then attacking his mismatch. Asar Thompson, point forward, playing like Scottie Pippen, coming down the court, setting the table. The one thing I love about Asar Thompson setting the table is that you're real hesitant to press him. You're really hesitant to press him. And the reason why is because at 6'7" with a 7-foot wingspan and that level of leaping ability, he can pass over the top in a myriad of ways, extremely easy. I've been using that word a lot today, myriad. Yeah, it's just in my mind. But he can make an effective entry pass in so many ways because of his size and his court vision. I think is probably second to none on this team. He has a strong handle and he's extremely explosive. Now, look, I'm not going to discount that we saw him mishandle plenty of times, but the mishandling that I saw throughout last season or this past season was more so him coming back from the blood clots and never having a chance to really like get his rhythm. It wasn't necessarily because it was something that he couldn't do. And when you think about his size and that level of strength, right? He's not a skinny 6'7". He's a 225-pound 6'7", meaning that physically you have to put a bigger guy on him. But the bigger guy, 90% of the time, is not going to be as athletic going end to end. So he can't really get too close to him because one move and he's gone. So to contain him, you probably have to put someone who's a little bit quicker, a little bit smaller. But then he has the size advantage. Once he's able to get you on his hip, it's a wrap. You're too small. So I think that he presents the type of mismatch at the top of the key that is going to allow us to get into our offensive flow easily, play after play, play after play. He can set the table for us, seeing over the top of the defense. And because he's a very selfless player, I think he's going to be able to make sure that everyone's eating while he eats in between. You know, that's something I actually did a video on this for the Houston Rockets, and I'm gonna get into some of these other comments here because I definitely appreciate you all in here and want to get to these comments. Um, let me see. I did a video on the Houston Rockets. I think the Houston Rockets work if they make Amen Thompson the face of that franchise and the focus of the team. That's what I was gonna say because he can play a similar type of a role, and I think it's a role that they don't have someone else who can really play that. I don't think Fred VanVleet is a full-time like spearhead of an offense. I think he's better off the ball as a secondary, tertiary player or a playmaker. I think Jalen Green is also better coming off the ball as a secondary, tertiary playmaker scorer. And then everything else falls in line. Alperen Şengün. It's really dope how these Thompson brothers are revamping and reshaping the NBA. Let me get to this. Ron Holland. Yeah, no. Ray, completely agree. Ron Holland is the type of player I think he's going to absolutely eat next season. He's going to come in with an exhausted starting lineup and be like, let's go. And I'm not talking about his starting lineup being exhausted. I'm talking about the other team running up and down, track meet, trying to deal with the pressure and the transition play of Asar Thompson, Asar Thompson, Jaden Ivey, and Cade Cunningham and Jalen Duren, having to get up and down with those boys nonstop while being pressured on the perimeter. And then all of a sudden, Ron Holland comes in the game. Switchable defender who can play multiple positions, knocking down threes, getting out in transition, getting into passing lanes, getting deflections, attacking the rim, getting downhill. It's gonna be like, what the fuck? Like they just got more of them. That's why I want them to draft even more. That's why I like Jameer Watkins out of Florida State. But I don't want to jump into that too much. I know Drake Powell. All that I've been talking. Look, we're gonna do draft content coming soon. Y'all be pulling me into it. Let me see. Appreciate you, Beat. Appreciate you, Brian Williams. Chiefy Holiday was good, my man. When you have a good, great players, they'll figure it out. True. One thing that catches front office about how solid the locker room is, 100%. I truly expect top six in the East, if not top four. I want to say top six because I think that they will have an adjustment period. Having Asar and Ivy in the starting lineup, Jalen Duren, and as guys progress and take steps in their game, there will be a filling out process, which is why I keep coming back to defense. That the Detroit Pistons are going to need to make sure that they are focused on the defensive end more than anything else. While JB Bickerstaff, works out the tweaks of the edges and the fringes and the nuances of an offensive system that can incorporate all these different talents. And I think he already does have somewhat of a framework for that. But I think as they figure that out, this team has to center themselves on defense. They have to. If they can stay locked in on the defensive end, pressuring teams at the point of attack, Jaden Ivey, Asara Thompson roaming weak side and guarding the other team's best wing player, and then Jalen Duren cleaning up the glass and then playing smart defense, Cade Cunningham using his length and size and physicality as well, I think it'll generate a large amount of offense for us. And we saw when Asara Thompson came back from the blood clots, I told y'all, our jump and transition offense was going to be what made our overall offense more efficient. And it was going to generate better quality threes. And it did. I think if we focus on defense, it is also going to ensure that we have a more efficient offense, getting better quality shots. And that is going to buoy us. It's going to supplement a lot of us figuring out how to score in the half court. Get some of these other comments here. That's a great point, man. That was a great point. Let me see. Sandro, Jaden Ivey shot over 40% from three over 5 attempts. Next, Little Mike incoming. Little Mike. What's up with Little Mike? But no, I definitely think that you see his attempts go up. I think you see Jaden Ivey next season getting up somewhere around 7 or 8 attempts a game from three. But I think he's going to be moving off ball a lot more. I would love to see him being moved off ball a la Klay Thompson and Stephen Curry, right? Starting from that baseline, weak side, getting those screens set by Jalen Duren and Tobias Harris along that baseline, weak side corner, coming to the ball at full speed, and that defender trailing him, being able to just catch that and curl it and come straight in. Because the defender can't go underneath, because if he does, wide open three, right? And if he can show that he can hit threes in that manner, off the ball, a la Tim Hardaway Jr., and then attack closeouts, I think he's going to average somewhere between 19 to 22 points a game just off that. I'm not talking about becoming this dominant on-ball scorer, however he might continue to grow and elevate his game. I'm saying just playing off-ball, transition, offense, cutting off ball, kick out jump shots, floor spacer. He's going to average around 20 points a game minimum, with a very simple game. And he's going to have opportunities to take over, which we see is just like second nature to him. If he gets the ball in transition, watch out. If he sees one shot go down, he can make 2 and 3 in a row. Makes a simple pass, read, somebody in transition to the opposite corner, attacks the basket, dump off, quick pick and roll, or attacking the rim, draws the big, lob to Duren, and all of a sudden, he's responsible for 10 to 12 points in a 2-minute window, in a 2-minute span. And I think that that type of play, simplified, is going to be huge for this team. Absolutely huge. Get to some of these other points here. Appreciate y'all. Let me see. I know this is random, but did you see that Pascal dunk? Yep, I just did a video, and we're gonna have to have another conversation about Pascal Siakam. You know, they say a jack of all trades is a master of none, but I forget how the rest of it goes specifically, but something like, but it's far better to be uh, good at basically many other things than only good at one. And I think that when we think about what Pascal Siakam is doing, it shows how incredible you can be when you have a diverse skill set, when you can do a lot of things and you maximize your skill set based upon what the team is needing. And this is essentially what this video is about: how to maximize who Jaden Ivey is and what the team is needing, not necessarily what it means to, be the most electric, amazing basketball player. Like, Ivey's going to look great just off of getting out in transition and getting dunks. He's going to look incredible. Windmill dunks, reverse dunks, throwing lobs, catching lobs. He's going to look great. Knocking down threes at volume, attacking closeouts, getting to the rim, dunking on team. We're going to see that in spades. It is going to be nonstop. But he doesn't need to necessarily have the ball in his hands and do that. He doesn't need to necessarily show you he's got a handle and he can do these complicated reads off of a heliocentric offense, as SGA does or Cade Cunningham is asked to. In fact, Cade Cunningham really doesn't need to do that as much either. Right now, this offense, if I'm honest with you, it should be smooth and simple. You got too many simple reads. Too many simple reads. If Asar is bringing it up, you can look for Duran on the pick and roll or a quick post up if he has a smaller guy sealed behind him in transition. You can look for Jaden Ivey coming off of a screen, getting him the ball with his defender trailing or going underneath. You can hit Cade Cunningham up at the free throw line and get that little pinch post, turn, face, shoot over the top, right? Or a quick post up and go to the rim. Tobias Harris is going to be a nice spacer for us in the opposite weak side corner, right? It's just let's just move the ball. Let's just move the ball. This team collectively, there should be very little ability for teams to double and trap. Nor do you need to keep the ball in your hands if you think a team is about to. Cade Cunningham, Jaden Ivey, even Asar Thompson. If you even think a team is shading, beginning to overplay, just swing the ball. There's too much talent on this team. So I think having all this talent on the court is going to minimize and mitigate the need to take risk. And that is also going to improve this team's overall efficiency. But like I keep saying, next season is going to be the season where we iron all that out. It is the season afterwards that when we got it ironed out, oh, it's going to be scary. The season after next, that's our championship window. That's our Indiana getting to the conference finals. That's our breakthrough moment. Next season, I think we get back to top 6 seed, though. Let me see. Yeah, made your back hurt. Yeah, no, the way he dunked on them was crazy. Is it just me? Yo, what's good, man? I wouldn't trade our young core for nothing. Facts. Let them grow all the way. Quit playing. Facts. And I would even throw in Marcus Sasser. I think he could be spark plug to the max, bro. To the max. Like, he comes in, teams is huffing and puffing, tired from chasing around Ivy and Asar and Cade and Duran. And then Ron Holland comes in and they tired. And all of a sudden, this 6'2" guard comes in out of Houston who's an absolute bucket and pressuring you 94 feet, right? Doing this Casey Wallace mixed with Peyton Pritchard impersonation. Looking like 6th man of the year. I think he could be huge for us. Absolutely huge, bro. Let me see. Let me see. Let me see. Brian Williams saying that past 2 years. Appreciate it. Yep. Because of his quickness. Shane Gretzky. I know what you said about bringing in a point guard, but do you think we have the same problem Boston had before Drew? That is a good question. I would say that Cade Cunningham is a far better facilitator than Tatum or Brown or Derek White. I don't think any of those guys ever get up to 7, 8, 9 assists a game. That's just not who they are. So bringing in another complementary facilitator, ball handler was essential. I don't think that we have that problem. I think Asar Thompson is a better facilitator than Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum. So no, I don't think that we're in the same position. I think that whoever we bring in this offseason, honestly, is just going to be there, not just, but is going to be there to reinforce supporting this young core, right? If it's someone like Marcus Smart, someone like Chris Middleton, I want it to be a veteran. Maybe even it's a CJ McCollum. And let me, before I say CJ McCollum, let me triple check Pelicans. How many years does he still have on his? CJ's only got 2 more years. I would pick up CJ McCollum. Yo, bro, Gretzky, Shane. Yo, me and you, man, we on the same. We be going to, that's why I love everybody that's a part of this community. Y'all don't realize how much y'all inspire me to keep doing videos because y'all have insight and thoughts that be sparking my imagination. Yo, CJ McCollum only has 1 more year left on his contract next season. Next season, he gets paid 30 million, 30.6. Now, here's the thing. That's a big tax. But who he is and what he does, I think it could be perfect for us. Coming off the bench, he's a shot maker, shot creator, shooter, facilitator. We've got plenty of defenders. But more than anything, I think he could be a mentor for these young guys, like Tobias Harris is. And in many stages of the game throughout the season, he could be a guy that buoys us. Let's say an injury happens, knock on wood, it happens. It happens. Guys get hurt, they're out for a week, out for a couple weeks, right? God forbid longer. And knock on wood about that. Believe in that. But it's to say he can come in and play starter minutes. He can come in and have 20 plus point games. He's also unselfish enough that he can come in and get you 6, 7 assists. He's a guy that the defense has to pay attention to. And when you're going into the playoffs, you want individuals who understand what they're doing. What does this moment require of me? And I think that he's someone who can come in as that eighth, ninth guy off the bench. I do think Marcus Sasser has to prove he deserves those minutes. He's got to come in and be a dog on defense and a bucket. Ron Holland, same thing. Be a dog on defense, knock down consistent threes, and continue to provide that energy. You don't need to do a whole lot. You don't need to do a whole lot. We got Cade, we got Asar, we got Duran, we got plenty of weapons. But CJ McCollum could be a great pickup for us. And here's the other thing. Do you know how desperate the New Orleans Pelicans are to get off of that contract? Do you know how desperate they are to get off of that contract? I mean, absolutely. They would love to get off of that 30 million and hit the reset, hit the reboot. Start Jordan Hawkins, maybe draft a point guard. Maybe they try to get someone like Jeremiah Fears. And they go, hey, we're going young again. We got Herb Jones, Trey Murphy III. Now, because we got off of CJ McCollum's contract, we don't have to get off of Trey Murphy. And they might include a draft pick. What if the Pelicans are willing to give up this year's or next year's first round draft pick to get off of that contract, to get out of that second apron? What if? What if we can flip Simone Fontecchio, maybe sign and trade Tim Hardaway Jr.? Shoot, maybe sign and trade Dennis Schroeder and pick up CJ McCollum in a first round draft pick. Let me look at the draft order because I think they have multiple. I know they have one that's high in the lottery. They got the number 7 pick. And then they have the number 23 pick. Shoot, man, what if we can move up to number 23? Get someone like Cedric Howard. Shoot, maybe we can grab somebody like, well, I like, eh, that could be a decent spot. What if we grab somebody like Ace Newell? There are so many potential opportunities with the New Orleans Pelicans. I'm just throwing that out there. I'm gonna do some draft content later. But I'm gonna log this one away. I'm gonna log this one away because I already have who I want at number 37 for the Pistons. I got that list. But if we can do a move, pick up CJ McCollum in a first round draft pick, and now, if I'm honest with y'all, remember next year's draft is twice as good as this draft. Twice as good at the top and all the way through. What if we can get a 2026 first round draft pick? Maybe even a 2027. Who knows? For picking up CJ McCollum's contract. I'm telling you, these are the things that we got to be thinking about. Get to some of these comments before I hop off. Try to keep it under an hour. Let me see. Uh, remember this hot take for the future, but I think the Pistons are gonna be the number 1 seed. Not even joking. I truly think that we being delusional up in here. Let's go 16-0. I mean, if you're saying you think they're going to be the number 1 seeded team at the end of next season, you know what? I've heard worse takes. I'm not mad at that. Someone said last season, I think we can be the number 5 seed. And they were saying that during last offseason after the 14 wins. And I was like, the fuck is you looking at? I was like, you're gonna be looking to get 32 to 35 wins, bro. And then all of a sudden they go on this run and it's like, oh shit. But a lot of things also fell into place, right? The Orlando Magic were ravished by injuries, right? The Philadelphia 76ers were ravished by injuries, right? You had teams that were just wiped off. The Toronto Raptors are ravished by injuries. You had the Miami Heat had the whole Jimmy Butler fiasco going on, right? Like there were things that also helped get us there. Now coming into this next season, those teams are going to be right back. Keep telling y'all, next season, if everyone starts the season healthy, if the entire East is healthy, it is going to be a monster next year. The league is going to be so much more talented next year. And then don't get me started on the West. Memphis Grizzlies are going to be better next year. They're going to be better defensively. The point of attack, KCP, depth at point guard, right? If John Morant is out for any extended period, Scottie Pippen and Cole Anthony, Jaren Jackson Jr. in a contract year guarantees he's going to play the 65 games necessary to be able to make the All-NBA or All-Star to get that Supermax. He's going to be that much more effective for them and stepping up offensively. I think Denver's going to be right back, playing the young guys and getting them that experience. Julian Strawther and y'all didn't know I know about all these teams, right? Christian Brown and I don't think his name is Julian Phillips. It might be Julian Phillips. No, it's another athletic wing. But they got a few young guys that never got to see the court because Mike Malone didn't want to play them. Those guys are going to be there. Not to mention their first round pick from this past draft, who was out all season because I think he tore his Achilles during summer league. Right? There's going to be so many teams that are right back. The Golden State Warriors with a healthy Jimmy Butler from the beginning of the season, and now moving on from Jonathan Kuminga. That's not even to say where Jonathan Kuminga even ends up. Like he might end up someplace that totally boosts another team. Right? What if he ends up in San Antonio? Right? What if the Golden State Warriors are able to flip him to the Brooklyn Nets for that number 8 pick? Right? Like there's so many things that could happen. But the league is going to be mad deep. They're going to be mad deep. Not just deep, they're also going to be ready to compete. And continuity, chemistry, a system that you're bought into. You know what I mean? Like these things are going to make a difference. These things are going to be the difference between teams getting the number 6 seed and the number 4 seed. The number 9th seed in the play-in versus the number 6 seed. right? That continuity piece, guys fitting together. Look, man, I'm out. I don't stay in the hood, but I'm hood adjacent, so I be getting a lot of the random cultural music. They got Banda playing outside right now. I was about to close the window even more. So I was like, damn, it's getting loud. All that's to say is, I'm not saying it's far fetched to say that they could be a number one seed. I'm just saying I don't necessarily see it because the league is going to be that much deeper next season. Let me see. Little Mike is a kid from a movie. Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Like Mike, player whose shoes become Steph. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Got you. After taste of winning a playoff basketball, the offseason training should be focused on shooting, obviously, but overall strength and conditioning will be huge for the team as well. Strength and condition, Chiefy, that's a great point. That's a great point. I don't think the focus is going to be on shooting, though. I don't. I don't. I don't. I don't think that these guys need to take huge strides in shooting for this team to be a really effective and efficient offense. As we see, both teams are struggling to shoot in the playoffs, in the finals, because teams play great defense. What gets you far is having a great defense and generating offense easily, and that's transition. If anything, I want to see these guys fine tune their game. Yes, work on shooting. I'm not saying don't work on shooting, but fine tune your game. Asar Thompson, fine tune finishing around the rim and driving to the rim effectively, right? Figuring out how fast you need to be able to keep your handle with you. That's where I think is more important. Jalen Duren being able to become more efficient and not picking up silly fouls and moving screens, positioning yourself for offensive rebounds and knowing how to stay balanced on the court so you can be an option when guys are driving to the rim, right? Like fine tuning the mental side of the game, fine tuning the nuance of your game, not necessarily growing a new component. I think Cade is an excellent shooter. Cade Cunningham struggled in the playoffs because he was tired and his legs got heavy. And when your legs are beginning to go, so does your balance. So does your consistency with your shot. And the quality of shots he was getting in the playoffs was really low. Everything was contested. And so his efficiency went down in terms of shooting. But shooting wise, he's a really effective shooter. I think having guys like Asar on ball, Ivy attacking the basket, Duran playmaking and attacking his mismatches creates more opportunities for Cade Cunningham to get wide open threes. And that opportunity is going to allow him to score at a more efficient level and to score a lot easier. Yes, he's still going to take over games, but I can foresee a world in which Cade Cunningham's points per game is somewhere around 24 to 25. Just far more effective, far more efficient. Ivy's is up to around 22. Asar is somewhere around 16, 17. Duran around 16, 17. And then everyone else is filling in. That is what I call balance. That's what allows you to have a balanced attack that allows you to attack other teams' weaknesses, that allows you to exploit the lack of athleticism, size, positional size, and versatility that most teams are dealing with. But let's not forget you got teams like Charlotte that's going to be healthy. Charlotte always looks great until the mellow ball gets injured, and then he's always injured. So they always look good up until a point. But they got Brandon Miller and Miles Bridges and Mark Williams and Grant Williams and Josh Green. So they've got some good players, but that's one of those trash organizations that's like they just don't get it. They just don't get it. Bring some veterans in there, help bring some balance, and figure out how to win. But I digress. I think it's going to be a great year, but it's going to be a competitive year for sure. Let me see. Excuse me. Uh, Sandro. I think they should treat Ivy like for now, a mini Clay or young Clay can play defense and can be a knockdown shooter. Also, lots of off ball movement while Cade gets most of the attention. I completely agree. That's why I gave the example from the Boston Celtics with Ray Allen. Get him off ball like Ray Ray. Paul Pierce, let him catch at that elbow, that free throw line where he was devastating from that position because he was so strong and long. He could shoot over the top. He had great footwork from there. And it was a very simple game that allowed him to be effective. And then Asar, of course, running more point. Yeah, and I think Ivy can be extremely effective moving off the ball just because of that speed alone. His shooting ability and speed, that combination is rare. And I think it's going to cause a lot of teams a lot of headaches trying to keep up with them. Get to these last comments here. Sasser can cause havoc like TJ McConnell. Completely agree. Check out the video I did. Completely agree. I think that he's going to be able to come in games and change the games, blowing them wide open or bringing us back because he's able to not only put pressure on the other team, 94 feet, pull a Case and Wallace, just keep turning you, turning you. Hey, if Jamal Sheed, who's 6 feet on a good day in Toronto, can do that, and Davion Mitchell, who's 6 feet, 6'1" on a good day in Miami and Sacramento, can do that. 6'2" Marcus Sasser, you can do that too. You come through that University of Houston pedigree. I know how to lock in on defense. I saw it in spurts last season. You've got to start there this training camp. You've got to pick up 94 feet. You got to say, I'm going to be a disruptor, and then I'm going to get buckets. I'm going to be extremely aggressive, a la TJ McConnell, Peyton Pritchard. And we got here. Let me see. I would love for the Pistons got a veteran that has gone through the playoffs and that has experience. The Pistons, super talented, but they might be too young to know how to use that talent. I completely agree. That's why I said Marcus Smart or CJ McCollum. I think one of those guys gives you what you need. I like Marcus Smart a little bit better because of the fact that his defensive versatility. He's been Defensive Player of the Year. He has that pedigree in him. I'll say CJ McCollum offers more offensive pop and shot creation. And if everyone else is doing their job defensively, you should be able to absorb that and still be able to play him effectively. But as you're seeing in the finals, guys who are not high-level defenders are less valuable in the finals and deeper you go into the playoffs. Generally because the moment you put them in, they get targeted. And because you're trying to get shots to everyone else, they don't necessarily make up the difference offensively. But if you can get a first-round draft pick for them, hell yeah. Like, that would be the move. Get the right veteran who can play that role, who's been in the playoffs, plays defense both ways, and get us a first-round draft pick, bro. Absorb that contract, especially if they only got one more year on that contract. What? Only one more year? That's all we got to take them for? That's all we got to absorb? It's just one more year? Shit. I'm trying to think another team that has contracts they're trying to get off of is Sacramento. Now, DeMar DeRozan has 2 more years, but actually those contracts aren't bad. DeMar DeRozan, okay, could be somebody that we look at because that's only $25 million. That's less than CJ. He just has one more year on it. But if we can get a first-round draft pick for him, we got to do it. I think that's more than feasible. I am open to that. It doesn't take away from your core. It only adds to what you could potentially do in the playoffs when you need them the most. Guys who know what to do, as we saw Dennis Schroeder in the playoffs for us, how effective he was, right? Knowing what to do, and Tobias Harris. At times, they were our best players around Cade Cunningham, Asar Thompson, and Duren, right? So those are the type of moves but I'm going to do another off-season video coming up soon. Get these last comments and I got to hop off. I'm hoping I'm wrong, but we think that there's a chance that a player that was actually good this season becomes worse this upcoming season. No. Why? I can't, because I don't know how they play worse when next season they'll be asked to do less. And with more talent across the board, it'll get easier. You know what I mean? Like, if we had Asar Thompson from the beginning of last season, just what he did last year alone, all the inconsistencies, up and down, turnovers, all that stuff, right? I think we get off to a flaming hot start. I think Jaden Ivey continues to shoot well, Cade Cunningham, all that. And because of what he does for us defensively, we take a huge jump. On top of now having this two-headed offensive monster between Jaden Ivey and Cade Cunningham. I think Jalen Duren looks far better because Asar Thompson unlocked Duren. That's just from what they were last season. Now, all together, taking a minimal step forward just by having the confidence from what they did last season. Even if they only do what they did last season consistent with more minutes, that's it. We see a better team. Right. But like I said, when I say better, it doesn't necessarily equate to wins because, like I said, come on, class, the league will be better next season. Atlanta's going to be healthy, right? Boston is still going to be competitive. Gonna have Philly healthy. You're gonna have, Toronto, Miami, Charlotte, Cleveland will be back healthy. Pacers will be, riding off an NBA Finals high if they win it or not. You still got all these teams. Orlando Magic now have Desmond, right? Like they're all gonna be a lot better. They're all gonna be a lot better. So it may not equate to more wins, even if the team itself is better. Casio IRL, man, you coming at the end. Coming at the end, I believe this team should be efficient at making the shots they're taking, not necessarily three-point shooting. Yes, Asar specifically needs to work on his free throws, which I felt like he got better over the course of the season. Do you think Asar is the best playmaker or passer behind Cade? I do. I think so. Needs to continue to work on it, but I do think he is. So do I. Um, Last comment. Bro, I'm so hyped for Ivy, man. He finna show the NBA world who he is. Shaq finna give him a nickname in no time. Yeah, he gonna call him, Mini Flash or something like that. The quickness or something. The quickness might be it. Boys and Ivy, they got all that stuff, right? I'm just finna be super goofy, but hey, it is what it is. That's true. Yo, hey, I appreciate the community. I appreciate y'all coming out for this live. Don't forget to smash the like button for me, hit subscribe and the bell for notifications. It lets the YouTube algorithm know you enjoy these types of interactive live chat videos with your boy. And you also get notified when I do the next one. I'm gonna do some draft content and some off-season expectations, as well as NBA Finals kind of Game 7 preview. These finals have been so dope. I don't know if y'all been watching. If you ain't been watching, I don't know if you like basketball. Whether you know the players or not, it's damn good basketball. Exciting as hell. I hope you're enjoying it. Peace, bro. I definitely appreciate you, Sandro. Appreciate you coming through. Yeah, it's gonna be a great Game 7. I can't wait to see it. All right, I'm out of here. Y'all have a great weekend. Happy Juneteenth. Peace.